this is a tour of the skin models that you guys are going to be using for your first lab exam. We're going to start off with this one here. Special note, I don't know if you guys can all see, there's a QR code on the base. You guys know how QR codes work? Okay, so what you're going to do, the QR code is really tiny, unfortunately. So what's going to happen is you're going to get your phone nice and close, but if it gets too close, it'll get blurry, right? So close enough so it'll open up the app page or whatever the link to the app page is, and then you download the app, and then what'll come up is this model, okay? And it'll come up in 3D. It's really cool. You can spin it around, you can touch various things, it'll label it. Very, very cool. So as long as the model has a QR code, it comes up as a model in the app, okay? So be sure to do that today. This one over here on the right does not have a key except in the Google Drive that she's set up. When you guys go to a folder in there, once you get into that Google Drive folder, it'll say keys to models and other. Can you guys make a note of that? Keys to models and other. And one of them will say burned skin model. Burned skin model. And that will have a key for all of the structures in here. Everybody got it? Okay, so let's go through some of the structures here. This is a relatively new model, and it's kind of wonky because the pieces move. I think they're magnetic. Anyway, so let's go through this here. So watch, take notes, whatever, she's videoing it. Okay, we're gonna start down here, the lower right for you guys, right? Lower right. All right, so this is a sweat gland, and it is a type of sweat gland that I want you to know. It's called eccrine. Now, if you guys have been watching my lecture, you know that there's two kinds of sweat glands. One is called eccrine and one is called apocrine. And I'm going to show you the difference between them. Now, notice that this sweat gland, remember, it's a lumpy white thing, and it's got a tube that leads out to the top of the skin. Now, how do we know it's eccrine and not apocrine? Well, look at the sweat duct pore or sweat pore leads right to the surface of the skin, okay? That's what we usually think of as where sweat glands dump, right? It's called eccrine sweat gland. But notice the one right next to it. Where does this sweat gland duct empty to?
The hair follicle.
The hair follicle. So if it's emptying to a hair follicle, it's apocrine. And I have this whole lecture about apocrine sweat glands, ancestors, stuff like that. Did I talk about extra credit for the lab exam? Okay, I'll talk about that after the tour, okay? It has to do with these sweat glands right here, okay? Next, this lump here, sometimes shown in cross-section, so I'll show it next time in cross-section, is called a Pacinian corpuscle. Now, if the key on the app through the QR code has a different name, let me know. You can use either one, but I prefer the one that I know because I'm the one grading it, right? So Pacinian corpuscle. This helps you sense things. Okay, down here, the yellow stuff at the bottom. You guys see the yellow stuff at the bottom? This is called subcutaneous fat or adipose tissue. Either one is correct. Anything yellow that's at the bottom of a model is subcutaneous fat or adipose tissue. And some of us have more than we would like, right? All right, here's another. Do you guys see this other Pacinian corpuscle? This is cross-section, okay? This Pacinian corpuscle is in cross-section. You can see it looks like an onion. Okay. Onions have layers, Pacinian corpuscles have layers, and ogres have layers. Okay. This purple thing here, this is a hair follicle. Hair follicle here. Okay, this muscle here, this red diagonal line here. Red diagonal line is called an arrector pili muscle. ARRECTOR, arrector pili, P-I-L-I, muscle. Now you should be able to spell that fairly easily because when you get the app, it'll give you the spelling, and that is what you're going to want to put on your word bank. Got it? All right. Anything yellow here is nerve. Anything is here is nerve fiber or nerve cell. Okay, do you see this purple blob on either side of the hair follicle. Is that the same thing as the white thing off to the side of it?
No.
No, it's not. It's directly around the hair follicle, right? This is what is called a sebaceous gland, and you guys will get the spelling on the app. Sebaceous gland. And what it produces is sebum. Does anybody know what sebum is?
Oil?
Skin oil, right. So this is how the skin oil gets to the surface along the hair. Okay? Now when we talk about the hair itself, there's three, well, let's go with two key parts to the root. Okay? Hair root is any part of the hair that's below the surface of the epidermis. Hair root. Anything above the surface is hair shaft. Okay? So hair root is anything below the surface, hair shaft above. The key may say it's something slightly different. If so, please let me know. Okay, what else do we have here? I think that's more or less it. Unfortunately, this particular model doesn't show the layers of the epidermis very well, but I will be asking you the layers of the epidermis. So you need to know it from deep to shallow, from superficial to deep and deep to superficial, right? So if I point to a layer, you need to know this is stratum germinativum, stratum basal, stratum corneum. They all have names, there's 5 of them. So you guys need to learn that from the app and from the key on the burn skin model, okay? So the layers of the epidermis, and that's just way up here on the top. And each one on this model has different colored layers. But I don't think it has 5 layers here. This only has a couple of layers. This is a fairly new model. I think we got it really, really recently. But one of the reasons why this one's really nice is we have lots of them, okay? We have lots of them, and we can put one of them down in the library today, right after class, if you guys want. Did I talk to somebody about taking models to the library? Anyway, I'll talk to you guys about that in a second to check them into the library. Okay, I think that's about it for this one. Now, we're going to go to the next one, which is called the burn skin model. This one does not have a QR code. This one has the key to it on the Google page, the Google Drive, under the folder. Do you guys remember the name of the folder I told you? Keys to Model and Others. Keys to Models and Other. And you will see I think it's a PDF that says burn skin model. And that'll have all this stuff keyed out. Okay? So you guys are going to need to get that. All right, so the key thing that's different here, there's 3 different areas of this model. And it has to do with really the thickness of the outermost layers. So for example, here the palm of your sole, or the bottom of your foot, much thicker outermost layer is called the stratum corneum, which is the outermost layer. And if you go to the scalp and armpit, they're going to have much thinner layers. Now, what is the difference between your scalp and your armpit? Where your scalp has only eccrine sweat glands. That is the sweat that you sweat when you're hot, right? But what about your armpit? Has anybody watched my video on apocrine sweat glands? You sweat a different kind of sweat, and it's only in your armpits and your groin, right? So that's why they're showing armpit here, or axilla is the scientific term for your armpit. Okay, the key here is they're showing a sweat gland that goes right to her hair, which is what from our previous model? Apocrine. Okay, so here's a way that you might remember this. Does apocrine sound like ape? Yes. You guys ever been to the zoo? Yes. Apes and monkeys, how do they smell? Stinky, right? So think ape, apocrine, smelly body odor. Does that help? Yeah. All right. So apocrine is the stuff that gives off information about the person that really only kicks in the teenage years and beyond, and that comes out in your armpits and your groin. What do your armpits and groin have in common other than just places that are kind of tucked away? What does everybody have there unless they shave? Hair. So one of the things in my lecture was talking about the hair is actually there to maintain a growth of bacteria to give off odor so that people will know who you are. And we don't do that anymore, right? Ladies, you shave it. I put on antiperspirant. We all bathe, right? Because we want to reduce that odor. That's part of that lecture. Watch it, Okay? So we have our apocrine sweat. You know it's that because it's associated with the hair. Here's an eccrine sweat gland because even though it's going behind the muscle, it's going right to the surface of the skin. Okay? Eccrine sweat gland if it goes to the surface of the skin. Apocrine if it goes to a hair. Got it? Here's that muscle. Do you guys remember the muscle I told you about in the previous one? Arrector pili muscle. How about yellow stuff at the bottom? Subcutaneous fat or adipose, right? What about the yellow kind of oniony things at the bottom?
That is the
Pacinian corpuscle. Good. How about something blobby right surrounding the hair? Not off to the side and leading to the hair, but surrounding the hair.
Sebaceous gland.
Sebaceous gland. Good. Anything yellow, thin and yellow leading through here? Nerves. Okay. Anything red is an artery or arteriole. Anything blue is a vein or venule. Okay, vein or venule. Next. Okay, so the reason why this is a particularly good model is it shows very clearly the different layers of the epidermis. And these are just, you guys see them on top here? They've got them separated out on top with each one a different color and different depth. Okay, I go through this in detail in my lecture. You guys need to learn the name of the deepest, which is stratum germinativum or stratum basal, all the way up to the outermost layer, which is stratum corneum. And the way to remember that is corneum sounds kind of like cornet, which is kind of like a trumpet, which is a type of horn. Does that make sense? Corneum, cornet, horn. They used to take animal horns and make them into like, you guys ever seen that in old movies? Okay, so stratum corneum means horn-like or whatever, and this is the stuff that's on the palms of your hands a little, especially if you work with your hands, or on the bottom of your feet, which are your calluses. Okay, so it says bottom of the feet, you'll see a really thick layer of stratum corneum, and these other two layers not so thick. Okay, now for extra credit, you guys want extra credit on the lab exam?
Yes.
Okay, the only thing I'm going to say right now for extra credit on the lab exam is it has to do with this side of this model. Okay, right now all I'm saying is extra credit has everything to do with this part of the model, the burned skin model side. Okay, I'll be giving you more information towards the end of this lab session, and then I'll give everything away at the end of this lab session so you guys can start working on your extra credit. Okay, please remember that goes on the back of your answer sheet, and you want to do as good a job of that. Okay, that's it.